Hello there. Today I will bring you a heartbreaking case that stems from boundless love but doesn't receive the appreciation from the person involved. Perhaps recently you have heard many stories of lives ending due to excessive love, and each case has its own story behind it. There are stories worth blaming, and there are incredibly pitiful stories, and the following case is an example of such extreme heartache. At 10 a.m. on January 8, 2001, a woman called the Social Welfare Hotline seeking help. She expressed her desire to follow her deceased husband, hoping that after her passing, the Social Welfare Department could help support her two children, aged 14 and 16. However, she didn't want her children to come home and see her lifeless body. Upon hearing this, the Social Welfare Department immediately requested her identity and address. However, the woman only revealed her last name as Lee, along with her home address. The woman then confided in a staff member named Trong from the Social Welfare Department. Lee explained that she and her husband were not happy living together. He was never at home, and their marriage felt like it was only important to her. Lee loved her husband deeply, but she didn't receive his love in return. Trong felt that she needed to go to Lee's house immediately to offer advice, hoping that Lee would calm down and prevent the situation from worsening. However, Lee firmly refused, so Trong didn't dare to take any risks. Trong tried to gather more information by asking probing questions. Lee mentioned that she planned to commit suicide the next day because she wanted to do one last thing for her daughter, changing her ill-fitting bra. Lee even instructed the Social Welfare Department to take care of her two children and prevent them from seeing the tragic scene of their mother's death. From this, Trong deduced that Lee's greatest concern at that moment was her two children, so she began considering ways to involve the children and prolong the time. In fact, Trong did this because she knew the police could trace the caller's information through a telephone call and find their home. After ending the call, Trong immediately reported the situation to the police. The police extracted the data and confirmed that Lee's statements were true. The woman's real name was Li Shui-bang, 51 years old, and her husband was Xiao An, 49 years old. The couple had two children together, Xiaodin Qiang, 14 years old, and Zhao Yingdao, 16 years old. The family's place of residence was also determined. But why did this happen to a family with two grown children? Let's go back in time. Since she was young, Li Shui-bang wasn't outstanding. She dropped out of school early and entered society at the age of 13, doing various jobs to earn a living. Before marrying Xiao An, she had a previous husband, but their marriage was unhappy, so they divorced. In 1980, through a friend's introduction, Li Shui-bang met her second husband, Xiao An. Xiao An was handsome and had good communication skills, which attracted Li Shui-bang. At the time of meeting Xiao An, Li Shui-bang was 28 years old, and he was 26. The two quickly fell in love. Xiao An doted on Li Shui-bang and always took her to meet friends. In general, the early stages of their relationship were passionate. During the time they lived together, not long after, they got married. Initially, the couple's relationship was still passionate, but as time went on, Xiao An became more and more unsettled. Every time Li Shui-bang went to karaoke with her husband's friends, she would grab the microphone and not let anyone else sing, which annoyed her husband's friends. Furthermore, in the past, Xiao An used to invite friends for meals, but since marrying Li Shui-bang, she didn't want her husband to drink alcohol as it would harm his health, so gradually, his friends also lost interest and stopped coming to their house. Initially, Xiao An didn't realize the problem or pay much attention to it. However, he found out from a new friend that all his friends were cautious around Li Shui-bang. They even spread rumors that Xiao An was afraid of his wife, which affected his self-esteem and made him start to feel resentful towards his wife. 2 years after getting married, Xiao An gradually became an alcoholic and frequently drank heavily before physically abusing his wife. Sometimes, without the need for alcohol, if Li Shui-bang said something he didn't like, he would resort to violence against her. Li Shui-bang said that every inch of her body had been beaten by Xiao An, and the hospital felt like her second home. The relationship between the two spouses worsened even further after having a child. Xiao An and Li Shuabang frequently argued about money. The entire family's living expenses relied solely on Li Shuabang's meager salary, which was insufficient to cover all the expenses, considering that they had 2 children. Despite Li Shuabang devoting most of her time to taking care of the children, she never neglected her husband and always tried to find ways to mend their relationship. However, Xiaoan couldn't understand why he felt overwhelmed by her attention and always thought she was bothering him, which made their relationship even worse. 4 years before the incident, Xiaoan suddenly insisted on moving elsewhere alone. Naturally, Li Shuabang disagreed, even resorting to threatening her own life, but Xiaoan remained firm in his decision. At home, Li Shuabang suspected her husband of having an affair. She believed that Xiaoan never contributed any money to the family because he was supporting a mistress outside. Xiaoan had also stopped taking her out to meet friends, refused to eat at home, and even when he came home, he would sleep on the sofa instead of sharing the bed with her. Despite these suspicions, Li Shuabang didn't turn against Xiaoan. On the contrary, she desperately tried to persuade him to come back. It was evident that she loved her husband very much. However, even the most patient person has their limits. On the morning of January 5th, 2001, Xiaoan returned home to celebrate their daughter's birthday. After washing his face, he went straight to the sofa to sleep as usual. In the early morning, Li Shuabang got out of bed, prepared clothes for their child, and took her to school. When she returned home, she went back to bed, setting the alarm for 9 o'clock. Upon waking up, seeing her husband still sound asleep, she went to the kitchen and heated a pan of oil to cook for him. After finishing the cooking, she approached the sofa to wake him up, but he opened his eyes before she could do so. Looking at Li Shuabang, Xiaoan pointed at her face and spoke loudly, "You shameless person!" Xiaoan uttered many hurtful words at that time, saying that there were many girls waiting for him outside and that she meant nothing to him. Even if she stripped naked in front of him, he still wouldn't touch her. Xiaoan even claimed that he had never loved Li Shuabang before. Naturally, Li Shuabang's heart shattered, but she had grown accustomed to hearing such words and thought that her husband was just babbling because he was drunk. When Li Shuabang was preparing to leave for work, Xiaoan suddenly stopped her and demanded money. In reality, he had already made the same request when he first arrived home, but she didn't give him any. During the second demand for money, Xiaoan said something that she couldn't bear anymore. Li Shuabang ran into the kitchen and poured hot oil on Xiaoan. Her husband naturally chased after her to the kitchen, intending to seek revenge, but he slipped and fell because of the grease on the floor. As Xiaoan struggled to crawl up, Li Shuabang suddenly took 2 knives and stabbed her husband in the back. She then opened the refrigerator and took out 2 items she had prepared in advance, one to help her sleep better, and the other, insulin, to commit suicide. She injected the latter into Xiaoan. At first he struggled, but soon he lay motionless on the ground. Li Shuabang approached and embraced her husband. After a while, she regained her senses and realized that she had just killed someone. However, instead of reporting to the police, she thought of ways to preserve Xiaoan's body so that they could be together forever. That's why she wrapped his body in 20 layers of paper. When she ran out of paper for his head, she used plastic bags as a substitute. Finally, she covered Xiaoan's body with a blanket and hid it under the bed. The subsequent events revolved around Li Shuabang's call to the Social Welfare Bureau. The police immediately took action. They arrived at Li Shuabang's house to prevent her from doing anything reckless and to confirm whether she had indeed killed her husband. Xiaodin Qiang opened the door, and the police expressed their intention to conduct a search. In the bedroom, they found a blood-stained knife, along with 3 plastic bags stained with blood in the wardrobe. At that moment, Xiao Yingdao also returned home from school. The police suspected that Li Shuabang had hidden her husband's body in the bedroom, given that she repeatedly stated that she didn't want her children to go inside. To prevent the psychological trauma that her 2 children would experience upon seeing their father's body, The police decided to take them elsewhere before searching for the body. Suddenly, the telephone at the house rang, and the police glanced at the caller ID. It was Li Shuibang. They decided not to answer to avoid alerting her that the police were at her house. Li Shuibang called home, but no one answered, so she called her neighbor and asked them to check if her 2 children had come home. The Vuong family, knowing that the police were inside Li Shuibang's house, suspected that something extremely serious had happened. Mr. Vuong told Li Shuibang to wait for a moment while he went to check, conveniently notifying the police about this phone call. The police instructed Mr. Vuong to tell Li Shuibang that her 2 children were not at home and asked her where she was. Without any doubt, Li Shuibang replied that she was at the supermarket shopping. Immediately, the police dispatched a team to the supermarket, but after searching hundreds of stalls, they couldn't find her. Li Shuibang continued to make multiple calls to her home, desperate to find her children. The police became concerned that her emotional state was deteriorating, fearing that if she couldn't find her children, she might do something reckless. To reassure Li Shuibang, the police decided to pretend to call her, informing her that her children had been caught stealing from a store and required her to come and pay bail. The purpose of this was to calm Li Shuibang and assure her that her children were safe. The police also expected that upon hearing the news, Li Shuibang would immediately come to the police station to redeem her children. However, it seemed that they were mistaken. Li Shuibang disappeared after hearing the call. The police continued to search for the husband's body and evidence while waiting for Li Shuibang to reappear. However, they waited for a long time without any sign of her. It wasn't until 7:15 p.m. that Li Shuibang returned home. The first thing she asked upon seeing the police standing in her house was about the whereabouts of her children. The police assured her that they were safe at the police station. They then questioned her about where she had hidden her husband's body, and what happened next took them by surprise. Li Shuibang pointed out the location where she had hidden her husband's body, under the bed in the bedroom. The police lifted the mattress and discovered bloodstains and footprints on the bedboard. They opened the bedboard and found a corpse wrapped in multiple layers, resembling a mummy. It was referred to as a mummy due to the outermost layer being a blanket, followed by 20 layers of wrapping paper, and multiple plastic bags covering the head. The body had multiple stab wounds and had been splashed with hot oil. The body was still dressed, but the shirt had been pulled up to the chest, and the pants had been pulled down to the buttocks. The police couldn't fathom how a 51-year-old woman, a mother of 2 children, could commit such a horrifying act. On April 10, 2002, over a year after the incident, the case was brought to trial. The trial was postponed twice, so it wasn't until October 7, 2002, that the case was officially tried. Li Shuibang was charged with murder. Her lawyer argued that she had no intention of taking the victim's life, suggesting a charge of manslaughter. However, on October 10th, it was discovered that the case was related to money, as the police found out that the couple had 3 life insurance policies with a total value of over 10 million Chinese yuan. The 3rd life insurance policy was signed in January 2000, with the beneficiaries listed as Li Shuibang's brother and the 2 children. However, in October of that year, she changed it to only include her brother as the beneficiary. This raised suspicions that she had planned to keep the money for herself. The case concluded on October 17, 2003. Li Shuibang was found guilty of murder with a majority vote of 8 out of 9 jurors and sentenced to life imprisonment. Li Shuibang filed an appeal, but it was rejected by the court. After the case, there were 2 opposing opinions. One side sympathized with Li Shuibang, saying that she was truly pitiable because she had sacrificed a lot to take care of her husband and children. They believed that she killed her husband out of excessive love. However, the other side stood with Tian, claiming that his coldness was mostly due to Li Shuibang herself. The victim's friends confirmed that Tai An had never been unfaithful, while his ex-wife continuously mistreated him and kept many things hidden from him. From these circumstances, the importance of sitting down together, clarifying everything, and finding ways to resolve issues can be seen rather than avoiding them and enduring more pain. And that's today's case. What do you think about the case? Leave your comments below the video. If possible, support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel to follow the next mysteries. Thank you, and see you again. Goodbye.